Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Cover One Buffalo. I'm your host, Aaron Quinn. Joining me here on this special post-game edition, preseason edition, is my man Rob Quinn. No relation that we know of. How you doing tonight, Rob?
I'm doing good. Bills did lose, but there was a lot to take away from that game. It was pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, I was sitting there with my wife at the end of the game before she went up for bed, and she saw the score. She saw the Panthers score and the Bills lead diminish, and she's like, "Uh-oh, Bills." I was like, "Come on, who cares? It's preseason. I don't care about that." But definitely, I think a lot to evaluate, a lot to talk about. We're going to try to keep this a little quick since it's so late in the evening here on a school night for some people. So we're going to keep this relatively quick flowing here. If you guys have any questions, please hit us up in the chat box. We appreciate everybody staying with us here on a late evening. Obviously, the post-game show will be much earlier all throughout the season here. And just a quick little bit of business here before we get into the conversation. Make sure that you head over to cover1.net. For those of you that aren't in the Slack channel was a ton of fun tonight during the game. And I'm expecting that's going to be like that all season long. Just a ton of fun, guys. Chatting as the game's going on. Eric was dropping some dimes in there about some of the stuff that's happening during the game. So if you want to get in on that, you're going to have to become a premium member. In order to do that, you're going to have to subscribe to the premium content. To go to be a subscriber to the premium content, however, cover1.net. $10 right now gets you premium content for the entire year, man. It's a deal that you can't even, I've bought draft guides for 15 to 20 bucks. You're going to get premium content for the whole year, access to the Slack channel, access to the film room. I don't know
the work that Eric puts in. I mean, his content he's putting it out almost daily, and it's so long and so in depth, and you're not finding anything like this elsewhere. I mean, I started writing for this site for free access to it, so that's
dude. I would pay him $10 for that Corey Coleman breakdown alone that he did. You know what I mean? For somebody to do that type of film analysis for me. So anyway, I don't need to sell you on it. You guys know the content that gets put out, and it's not just Eric. We have a great team of writers. I'm expecting a ton of great content coming out tonight and tomorrow morning from this team analyzing this game. So we don't need to keep, you know who we are, you know what we do. So go do it, because that is ending this preseason. The preseason clock is ticking down. So go get the $10 subscription, or you're going to be kicking yourself all year. So let's get right into it though, right? Nate Peterman, named the starter minutes before the game, comes out and actually looks like MVP Nate Peterman, throwing 90% completion percentage, hitting everything, looking super decisive, making throws you don't always see out of him, just playing within himself. What did you see out of Nate Peterman tonight, man?
Same thing we saw last preseason. I mean, he was quick, he was efficient, got the ball out fast and on target. I think having a guy like Kelvin Benjamin with his mindset is huge for him, where that throw, he knew that Kelvin Benjamin was able to extend out of bounds and drag this. He trusted him to make that play, and he did. Whereas last year, Tyrod Taylor may not have.
No, that's like thrown to a ladder out there.
He was thrown out of bounds, and Kelvin, for a guy that big to drag his toes right on the sideline like that, it was impressive. And then the touchdown where he jumped into the stands, maybe gave a little elbow cross, smiling at Cam Newton across after their little scuffle. So it was fun to watch him. It was really fun to watch all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, it really was. I'd like to talk about KB a little bit, because obviously contract year, the guy's motivated to play for a new contract, coming off an injury that he played through last year. So we didn't get to see him at his best last year. Obviously, the quarterback play was up and down last year too. I think fans have been a little bit down on Kelvin Benjamin. Some injury history has kept him from producing to the pick that he was. And then he came out and said it, that Cam Newton, not a super accurate quarterback, maybe not giving him the ability to produce to who he is. The guy's a first-round talent, and he showed off glimpses of that, I thought, tonight. Obviously, it's preseason. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but I thought he played phenomenally. He was open almost anytime he wanted to be. He got down the field. That touchdown showed a little bit of, they talk around here, he doesn't have the ability to separate, but his size gives him that ability.
It's like Buddy Nick said, he's open when he's not. He's boxing out every defender. No one can really match up with his wingspan too. I mean, if you think about it, he's really like that's a 7-something foot target you have right there. And then he may not be the fastest, but on those short slants or comebacks and routes like that, he's 9 times out of 10 he's going to come away with it.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw some cool things out of the offense. Huge change from what we saw last year. Eric has been talking about it all preseason and training camp. Some of this day bowl stuff. You saw motions. I think that helped Peterman out a lot too, being able to determine what the defense was doing prior to the snap. It's just stuff we weren't doing last year, getting guys in positions so you knew who to look for prior to snapping the ball. That's going to be huge for a guy like Peterman if he is the starter, because he is a smart guy. He's a quick, decisive thrower. He can throw accurate balls. So if he knows where to go, that takes a lot of it out for him.
Right. And really,
go ahead.
And really, in the first preseason game, you're looking for the quarterback that can really just manage the offense, that can, command the huddle, get the plays out on time, get the checks out, and really do those little things that kind of get overlooked. And I thought Peterman did a really good job of that. And those that follow me on Twitter know I do not cut Nathan Peterman any slack at all, but I thought he looked very good tonight.
Yeah, I thought he looked great. I think both he and McCarron did enough to keep, and I said this in the Slack channel, I think they did enough to keep the rotation for quarterback where it is right now. I see. No? I
think when they go back and watch the tape, Josh Allen, he had his less than 50% completion rate. I believe it was 9 of 19, I want to say.
Yeah, he was like 47%.
But, those throws that he hit on, that
oh my god,
they're lasers. The ball comes out of his hand.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah, but then you saw the Matt Sims 2.0 almost, and he was getting dragged down, almost threw it away, and that's what makes you say, okay, this is why he's still a project.
Yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit, right? Josh Allen. We'll talk about AJ McCarron here in a second too, and then we'll get on to there's other stuff to talk about, but obviously quarterback's the big topic here in Buffalo right now. But so Josh Allen, man, 47% completion percentage. I don't think that's indicative of actually. You look at the guys he's playing with. The line was just god awful that whole second half. I think you could at least give him a 10% curve on his completion percentage just based on what I saw. I'm going to have to go back and watch it tomorrow a little bit more. But outside of that one play that you referenced, obviously a horrible play. You don't want him to make that play. I'm positive that's what they said on the sideline. Sometimes live to see another down. If he can clean that.
It was his Wyoming brain kicking in where he had to do everything himself probably.
And totally.
So.
But you saw some of it too later on with the scrambles that he does have the ability to hit on those plays too. He made that one scramble, threw it off his back foot. The ball went short, but he almost made a crazy pass that would have gone for 20-something yards. So he has this ability that just the other guys don't. Even as good as Nathan Peterman played, I agree with you. When they look on tape, they're going to see these throws and just that one to Ray McLeod over the middle, 35-yard pass or something. Dude, he put some balls
out of his hand and just different.
Yeah, that Foster one should have been a touchdown. That bomb to Foster, right. He didn't track it well. I think Foster's a goner after that performance. He didn't do Allen any favors this evening. So you got to look at it as the whole picture. So that's one thing when we're watching these preseason games. Don't just look at the stats. Don't look at Allen's completion percentage and say, these guys played so much better than him. You really got to look at what they're doing. Even some of the incompletions, we don't know. There was one throw where he took the blame for it, but we don't know if it was Foster or Allen or what the play call was. There was a miscommunication. That's all we know. So, but I thought AJ McCarron, he did an okay job. I thought he pushed the ball downfield a little bit. I think protection started to break down when he went into the game, so he didn't have as clean of a pocket as Peterman did. I think the receivers weren't getting open. He didn't have Kelvin Benjamin in the game, anything like that to,
See, right there is why I was not as high on McCarron as everyone else. That's 5 excuses before one thing that he did well. I think that McCarron, just because he has the veteran experience and the Alabama connection and everything, that people are saying, oh, he's this quarterback that can do that. And you're right. He was just pretty decisive in the short intermediate areas of the field. Yeah. And he was confident throwing over the middle. But that's not a quarterback that – we've seen that quarterback in Buffalo too much where it's just – I think he can – I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that said it. He's like, you have a quarterback that can drive the bus, but he's not going to drive it off the road. Yeah. And so, when it comes to Josh Allen, or AJ McCarron, after what I saw tonight, I would put Allen ahead of McCarron just on the upside.
I would like to see Allen get the reps with the players that McCarron was playing with.
Exactly.
But I don't know that as well as Nate Peterman played, and he did play really well. He had a couple balls I'm sure he'd want back, even though he went, 9 for 10 for the day or something like that. I think McCarron has a similar looking game if he's playing with Kelvin Benjamin, because you saw Nathan Peterman continue to go at Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, those types of things in the preseason, how big of a difference do you think that makes when the coaches are analyzing this and saying, well, Nate had this security blanket that none of the other quarterbacks had. And that accounted for, 4 of his how many receptions? Yeah, 4 receptions for 59 yards and a touchdown to Kelvin Benjamin. So that's almost half his throws.
But then playing devil's advocate, the defense that McCarron's facing is the second string as well, and it goes lower and lower also. So, I mean, I do think that each of them did have positives and they did have negatives, but definitely having a guy like Benjamin is going to help out a lot. But the Bills really need to find a quarterback that isn't afraid to look at those secondary options, because you can't force 150 targets to Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, the first preseason game, the defenses are playing their base stuff. They're not really showing anything. And once it comes down to realizing, okay, Kelvin Benjamin's the only option, then what?
Yeah. So, it's going to be nice to see what whoever it is can do when Corey Coleman and Zay Jones get back into this.
Right.
Because that's another thing. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin's out there and Curley's out there, but we don't have the full weapons of wide receivers they're going to have going in for the 53, we think. Anyway, over on the other side of the ball, though, man, real quick, Trent Murphy's out for the game. Give Shaq Lawson a great opportunity to come in and either, I said it in the pregame show, either make a name for himself on this roster or put himself, for the Bills, put him out there as some trade bait. Do you think he had his stock go up a little bit at all or anything during this game?
Absolutely. And earlier today, I posted an article of players that needed to have big games to really, secure their spot with the team for now. And from the first snap of the game, Shaq Lawson was playing on fire. He was playing physical. He was fast. He was looking like the guy he was at Clemson. He wasn't the sluggish, kind of overweight, out of shape guy that he looked like over the last season and a half that he's been with the team. And it looked like a new player. I mean, he acknowledged that he knew that it was a put up or shut up off season, and he had limited reps, but I think that he did enough to warrant seeing some more of him and keep his name in the competition.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And also, if they are interested in trading him, I think it boosts whatever value that he has to see him put some film up this year. That batted pass, like you said on that first play, he was in the backfield disrupting that play. Fans don't always see it as a sack. We don't always see it as you want to see guys make sacks, but just disrupting plays is big. It was something that he hasn't done.
Right.
So to see him, like you said, a little bit more of a motor going after it, great to see. I think Trent Murphy being hurt, a little bit of a blessing in disguise for Shaq, and that's what preseason's all about. When you have that opportunity to make the most of they're limited in the NFL. Shaq might not get a chance.
And that's the only thing you're seeing him tonight is like, maybe you don't want to get rid of him in a trade if you don't have to, because if a Trent Murphy goes down, then you're down to Yarborough, and they got rid of Omagbe or Diggy Zua, who obviously would be a huge boost to that pass rush. But you might want to keep Shaq around if he continues to progress and play like he has tonight.
Yeah, no, and I think Bean has said it multiple times. If he could have 9 awesome defensive linemen, that he would have 9. So I think he's only excited, and McDermott's only excited to have more of those guys. So I think Shaq playing well only is good for the Bills and keeping that spot and that healthy rotation that they're looking for. So I thought that was good. Other things on defense, Jordan Porter, man. I don't know. He didn't make any big stats, but the guy's just everywhere on the field. He's flying around the ball. He's got great timing on the blitz. He's playing up on the line of scrimmage. That it wasn't a fumble, but him coming in and knocking that ball out with the Peanut Tillman punch. He's just got a head for the game, man. The game is almost slow to him. Were you impressed watching him run around out there?
I've been impressed by him since he got to Buffalo. I mean, coming out of Oregon State, he was more of like a ball hawk guy, and was kind of like Bird that year that he had all those picks, where he was just like in the right place at the right time. But now, like you said, he's playing all over the field. He's lining up in different spots, and he's playing different coverages. But he's physical. Like when you look at him, he's kind of a smaller guy, but he comes up and he can lay the wood and he can cover as well. And he's incredibly valuable to this defense, and he's really shocked me. But I think the future is bright for him. Another one, Saran Neal. I was hoping to see a little bit more of him, but I mean, it might be
for Neal right now, but I think it's going to be fine. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast this week. I think he's a perfect candidate to bury on the practice squad. I don't think anybody's coming after Neal on waivers. So get him on the practice squad, develop the guy over the next year. He's not needed on this defense. So great opportunity for him to be a developmental player and bring him along slowly for that big nickel role.
What did you think about the corners? Because I know nickel was a huge.
Nickel's a big one. One thing I want to ask you about, and I want to get Eric's take on this week at some point. Davis got beat pretty bad on a play and then missed the tackle, and that led to maybe the biggest play of the first team, put Carolina in scoring position. And I just thought that was overall a really terrible play. One of the big gains that the Bills made last year was tackling in the secondary. I don't know if Vontae Davis is a good tackler. I'm still skeptical of what type of player he's going to be at this point in his career. But seeing that gave me a little cause for concern, because we take a step back, or the Bills take a step back in tackling with the defensive backs, with as bend but don't break as that defense is. That's going to be a huge issue there. Did you see that play? You know what play I'm referencing?
I did not. I think that's when I was having the difficulties with that, but I did see the one hit that he did make coming downhill when he was playing off coverage and made a pretty solid tackle. So that was like the 5 minutes that I was freaking out because I couldn't get on the.
And you're going to have some of those. You're going to miss tackles. I'm not.
Yeah, and it's the first preseason game. I mean, it'll happen. I mean, I believe it was Poyer, and he missed something like 16 tackles last year. But then, like you said, he makes the big plays at the end of the day. It matters, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a preseason, and you just hope to learn from it.
It did. Trey got caught out of position a couple of times. I thought there was just a little bit of miscommunication going on in the secondary. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. Again, I think they're playing pretty basic stuff. They're not disguising a lot of stuff this time of year. I think they'll be fine. That nickel spot, though, man, nothing stood out to me in that nickel spot. I didn't even see Philip Gaines. I'm sure he was in there at times, but I didn't even – I never heard his name called, never saw him. I saw Johnson get beat a couple times. He came in and made a couple nice hits. Definitely can get his hat on somebody and be a little bit aggressive, but I'm super worried about the depth of this cornerback position. Like, the drop-off is terrible after the first two guys. It's so top-heavy. Is there anything they can do? You think guys are going to shake off rosters that they can sign? What can we do about the depth?
We'll have to look around. We'll have to get Eric his Google Glass and do the breakdown sometime of the all-22 on the cornerback play. But I think that's something they really need to do. Take a look at. Lafayette Pitts was not
terrible.
Sorry, Kyle from former Bills Wire compadre, but he was not looking good tonight. And the depth behind him, if you want to even call it depth, it's not looking good.
Non-existent.
And it might be why they're cross-training these safeties, but at the same time, you need to have guys that can cover. And right now, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, guys are going to go down, man. It's a long season. We see it every year, especially at positions like wide receiver and cornerback. You have a lot of those guys running around on the field. Guys are definitely going to go down. And, I mean, if they lose Vontae Davis or Trey White for any type of significant time, they are going to get torched. There's nobody that can play those outside cornerback positions.
Right. Those are the most rare, because those are the ones that get plucked off of the practice squad. I was reading, I forgot who it was, but it was an interview with the general manager. And they were talking about how much they hate putting corners on the practice squad just because it's such a hard position to have a even replacement level player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that in the late rounds of drafts, you bring in a bunch of those guys because you can't have enough of those guys in camp. You can't have enough of those guys pan out. So it's definitely a position to watch. Very concerned about that position. Another position that we're still, I think, concerned to watch is that Sam. The rotation at Sam is not very good, especially in the passing game. That's another position I think we're super thin as linebacker, and if injuries happen there, the athleticism alone drops. Somebody asks him at the first half, how did Edmonds look? He's definitely quick, dropping into coverage. He didn't make really any plays and do anything spectacular, but him and Milano are quick. You see it when they drop into their quickness. When they're not in, dude, that athleticism drops in the pass coverage.
They did not want to go. They were not throwing over the middle. I think that's why their stats were low, because the way that he's just flowing around the field and his closing speed is so impressive that you don't want to throw it within a yard or two of him, because he's going to just light that receiver up. McCaffrey got a couple big chunks of yardage in that touchdown, but other than that, I mean, they were fast, and they were playing fast. And Deion Lacey, I believe, was playing with the starting unit for a bit. But that shows just how weak that position group is, too. So I think that I don't think Brandon Beane is done making his trades just yet.
I hope he's not, because Lacey, I think he's a fine player. I think he's probably a solid player, but you saw him a couple times in pass coverage. He's just going to be trailing guys. He just doesn't have the athleticism. But for Edmonds, man, there was a few times when I go back and watch it, as soon as the ball snapped, pretty close to the line, playing tight. As soon as the ball snapped, he's back in coverage and off the camera before you can even say, like, the guy just glides around.
Right. And remember watching those when it was like with Rex, when it was Preston Brown being asked to play so close and then drop at the fake with the sugar and the A-gaps and everything. Yeah. And you're asking him to drop back and he can't even move. It's night and day.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it's bad. So we got some depth issues, I think, all across this team, really. I don't think they're as bad as the talent on this roster. I think up front, up top, isn't as bad as people think. I think the wide receivers are actually going to be pretty decent. I do think there's just drop-offs in depth.
Yeah, I think that everyone looks at rosters and wants that 22 good players that are starting. And that's just not the case in the NFL with the salary cap era. Like, if the Patriots, I don't think there's a weak link everywhere on every team. Yeah. And the Bills, where they're strong, they are strong at the safety position. Like last year with the offensive line. And I think that it's such a new team and it's full of unknowns that on paper it's easy to say they have no depth because they didn't do anything. But this time last year, the Bills were a 2-14 team.
Yeah, with no
everybody.
Defensive back being their worst position ranked by most.
Exactly. So I think there's a lot of time to see, but even seeing the play and some of the highlight plays that these guys made, should be enough to keep people positive going forward.
So guys that are their stock went up, right? We talked about Shaq. Shaq's stock goes up. Nate Peterman, his stock goes up from that performance. Yeah.
I think he's a little bit the same.
Okay.
Because
Murphy's stock goes up. I thought he had a great game.
Yeah. Definitely him. My boy Keith Ford, I would say, other than the penalties. But I think
here's the thing I really like about Ford, and you wrote about this, is even on a bad run, he's always falling forward, right? So even a bad run, he's still picking up something. Like he's a forward moving runner. He's going to get yards. So that's what I like about him. But I do think that battle between Murphy and Ford for that final position, and my boy Tywan Jones is out. He's out of the running. Him and Leonard are going to have a little
silence
here in my house.
But as far as stock down, Vlad Dukas, I don't know how he is still on the team. Do you have any insight on that?
Guys with Juan, man. He must have some blackmail on Juan.
Yeah, he's got something, because there was a play in the first half. Ryan Groy pulled out from center, and and took out a linebacker, and Ducasse was not able to hold his block, and the play just got blown up. And Ducasse was not impressive last season. He hasn't been good really at all throughout his entire career. And I wanted to see a bit more John Miller. And I do think Groy did help himself, though.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Bodine, again, something I have to watch. I don't think he has any legs.
He has no strength. He has no lower body strength to anchor. He gets bull rushed. And this was something that I was talking to Joe Goodberry, who's a great Bengals analyst, and he was not happy with Russell Bodine at all.
Yeah.
There's clips on there of him, and it's not pretty.
No, and I saw it in Cincinnati, and I try not to analyze those things. Obviously, you got to see what the people do, but yeah, to see it for ourselves, first preseason game, I felt like he was maybe 2 to 3 yards into the backfield pretty quickly on almost any play. I'm gonna go back again, like I said, and watch it, but I don't think he did himself any favors on tape. So I don't know if the coach is just like that. He's an intelligence center and can call out protections and things like that. That might be the only thing keeping him tied with Groy. But I thought Groy, just as far as the strength, and having the ability to anchor that.
And for those that haven't seen the Eric Wood breakdown with Eric Turner, I mean, he was talking about Groy, and he's like, and Wood was saying like he hopes Groy gets a legitimate shot, because sometimes the coaches are saying, oh, he could play 2 positions, and sometimes they'll name someone else the starter because he has that depth to dress and play at either guard or center.
Right.
So, but I think that it was clear as day that Groy is a better player right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I thought the depth at offensive line was not good. I want to go back and watch Wyatt Teller. Dan in our chat room said he liked what he saw of Wyatt Teller. I didn't really get to get a good set of eyes on him, but the unit, the backups didn't look very good at all. So I'm pretty concerned about the depth there. The first unit looked pretty good as a whole unit. Obviously, we're talking about Bodine having some issues. So did you get anything from the second unit offense or the second and third units?
I was a huge Ray McLeod fan, and him and Josh Allen together looked pretty darn fun. But other than that, Kaiir, the tight end, he was somebody that they've been hyping up kind of throughout the offseason. He's been talking, saying that he's kind of putting it together. I mean, he was a 4th-round draft pick coming out of college, and I think he has the tools to really make some contributions at a position where they might lack depth. We talked about that on the tight end episode, but they're weak on offense. I want to see them with Zay and Coleman and really what they're able to do with a full deck of cards.
Yeah, I thought Ray had himself a nice, quiet night that when the coaches look at it on film, they're going to say, hey, man, this kid coming along pretty nicely here. I know a lot of people think that the addition of Coleman kind of puts Ray out of competition for that final wide receiver spot. But I think Ray's ability to play special teams is really going to help him, especially if a guy like my boy Tywan Jones doesn't make the team. You have that extra special team spot. If he's proven that he can play at the wide receiver position, if he got that jet sweep, he has a little bit of that trickery available to him. I thought he had a nice game and might be able to find himself a roster spot there. I thought Foster had just played himself off the team, essentially, today. I don't see him doing anything. I thought Riley didn't really do a whole lot. He had that one nice catch from McCarron and run after that. Definitely a nice play, but outside of that, I didn't really hear his name the rest of the night. What about in some of this wide receiver battle? Do you see anybody? Riley had the 1 for 59, obviously a big play, but I don't know. You got to give me a little bit more than that.
Right, and you didn't have his boy Peterman. I mean, that was the connection last year in all the preseason. But Foster, yeah, I mean, from the day they signed him, he was getting these rave reviews, even though he didn't do it. He had 29 catches for 350 yards in 5 years at Alabama. But he was the #1 receiver coming out of high school. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Brandon Beam wants athletes like that that he'll take a chance on them. Like Keith Ford, for instance, another guy. But Tre'Davious White was #3 or 4, something like that. But Foster, you were hearing his name like every single day in OTAs and minicamp and the first couple of practices, and that just started fading. And I guess we saw why tonight with that. But
Allen gave Foster some chances, man.
Yeah, he looked at him a couple of times, but like I said, I think McLeod helped himself the most out of any of those receivers, and he was a return guy. He can play running back. He can play receiver. I think it was like 26, 28 yards per return, per kick return at Clemson, and he returned punts as well. So,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how that position group shakes out.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting. Obviously, nobody besides really Benjamin with his 4 catches, 59 yards, 1 touchdown. McLeod had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. So those two probably really are leaders for receptions. And then he was running backs right there. So the ball got spread around a lot. I don't know that any other receivers besides Benjamin and McLeod really improved their standing with coaches. I think that is a very stagnant group after this first game. I don't know how much is going to change in there. I think it's going to be a lot of tough decisions for the coaching staff in that wide receiver room. And also, the running back room, your boy Ford had a good game. Murphy had a good game. Obviously, Jones isn't even going to get carries. Cadet only had 2 attempts for 4 yards, but they were moving him around a little bit. I think one thing.
Chris Ivory, though. Chris Ivory had that catch went, like 23 or 33?
29 yards.
Yeah, it was like it's probably more yards than he ran in the last 2 years in Jacksonville. But I was not expecting much at all from him. But he looked like he had some juice to him, and if he could contribute.
One thing I want to encourage people when they look at these stats from the day after or whatever. So you see Ivory had 1 carry for -3 yards. Cadet only had the 2 carries for 4 yards. That first unit was not running the ball. They came out and threw like 10 passes in a row. I don't know if that's accurate, if they actually threw 10 passes in a row. But my point is the offense, they came out to prove that they were going to be able to come out and put the ball through the air and make some plays in the air. And so the guys that were lined up with those first units didn't get the carries that Murphy did. You alluded to it in the Slack channel. Like, yeah, Murphy looked good, and yeah, he was making plays. He also got 7 touches in that one quarter. So, like, touches matter. Especially for a back like Ivory. He's got to get going, get in a rhythm. So I wouldn't take too much on the stats of those top guys, would you?
As far as the running backs, it's interesting to me. I think you can and can't, but with a guy like Ivory, just because I don't think he's the same player that he was, but then you see that acceleration on that catch, and he did look like he had some juice to him. But for the -3 yards, I mean, you can't really look at preseason stats as anything. I was looking some up earlier today. Marcus Easley, if you combine those, he had like 40 catches for like 600 yards and like 2 touchdowns, and he didn't do anything in his career with the Bills. So I mean, there's preseason stars, but you want to look at what they're actually doing with the ball. And I just don't think you can really look at a box score and say this is why this player is making the team or why you need to cut him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a good note to end on with the thought we'll wrap it right back to the quarterback, because in the Slack channel, some people are saying, before Josh Allen scored a touchdown, well, he hasn't been able to score a touchdown with this offense. And these guys aren't getting evaluated on their stats. They're not getting evaluated on necessarily if their unit goes down and drives the touchdown. Josh Allen's getting evaluated on that throw to Ray McLeod over the middle, on that bad play that he made and why he made that play. That is what they're going to break down every play, whether or not he made the right decision on the play, whether or not the throw was the right call to make. And then they're going to look at it and say, even if it was the wrong call to make on that touchdown to Ray, that freaking thing was a fastball, and we don't care.
That sidearm throw, when he adjusted, when he was getting pressured, I was like, that's Matt Stafford. And that's who I said was basically his ceiling, because anyone that knows, I was not exactly ecstatic about the Bills selecting him. But I thought that I did an article with Cover One, and it was basically an analysis article on the history of players that were similar to him. And Stafford was about very similar to him coming out of college. his closest comparison, really. And then he comes out and makes that sidearm throw that Stafford's known for, and I was just like, that's it right there. And so I think he helped himself the most, and it's exciting.
It is exciting. I think some fans might look at the bad plays that he had and say, oh, that's why he's not ready, especially because what Nate Peterman was able to do. But I think you have to look at the whole picture, who he was playing with, what he was doing, and the throws that he made. Nobody on this roster can even come close to making those throws. So definitely an exciting time to be a Bills fan. Lots of young talent. Not sure what this season will bring us, but just good to have some football back, man. Sit down and watch Buffalo Bills football. How fun was that tonight?
It was. And watching Cover One's Twitter timeline again in action throughout the night. And
good to be back.
You're going to want to get that subscription, subscribe to the YouTube channel, everything, because I have it on my smart TV. I watch it all the time. I mean, Eric is incredible with the breakdowns. Now we have new staff covering other teams with different concepts, Alan and Nick and Christian and Russ with the draft. So we're really going to be the one-stop shop for everything that you want to know. And I think it's great to be a part of.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's finish our business here. What do you got coming out for content for the rest of the week here? I know you're probably going to get right to writing when you get off of here.
About what Josh Allen's Hall of Fame induction speech should be. Number one, probably going to take a look at all three quarterbacks, going back and rewatched it. Kind of a statistical analysis. I like the analytics side of things. Eric's good with the film, so I'm let him do that. I know we have kind of a stock watch, and then I'm also wanting to look at more of the players around the league at positions of need. Maybe trade value for them, like we were talking about earlier, maybe some corners, and really kind of whatever comes to my mind randomly is what I just will go off of. Maybe the small receivers.
Oh, come on. I don't want to get into that argument here in front of the folks.
Nah.
Let's so we know you're famous. You got a check mark on Twitter, so you're probably the most famous guy I know. Where can people find you if they don't know who you are?
At Rob Quinn 619 on Twitter. And please realize that I think Twitter is fun. I think being a Bills fan, you have to laugh with the good and the bad. So take most of what I say with a grain of salt. If it sounds too outlandish, it probably is a joke, and you don't need to spend your day yelling at me because
everybody get mad at Rob and yell at him because I enjoy every minute of the fans. I'll wake up sometimes and just people yelling at you at 4 a.m.
I wake up and I look at my phone and it's 100 plus, and it's notification. I'm scrolling through, and it's usually like you'll have the first like 100 people, but then there's the people that argue with each other in there, and it's the Bills. It's a game. If you can't laugh at the team that had like Trent Edwards and all these things, and good things are happening now, but you got to laugh at them at the end of the day, and got to have fun with it. Take the good with the bad. So just keep my mentions safe. Please.
I'm going to go there and encourage some bad mentions this evening even. So anyway, on .net. Like I said, you got to join the premium content. The premium content is fire. Eric is just always putting it out. All the guys are. You get the membership to the Slack channel, like I said. You get access to the film room. Eric is in the film room even during the game, kind of putting in parts of the Slack channel, what's going on, and showing you access to his game notes. He left us that, so you're seeing things that Eric sees that I didn't even see half the things he was telling me.
I don't know how he does it. It's insane to me.
The way he does. I can pick up some of that stuff after 5-6 times of watching the playback, but live he's seeing stuff and it's in his.
In a Google Doc, he's typing it as it's happening on screen. I'm like,
yeah. So that's the type of stuff that you get only through Cover One and only through our premium subscription. And again, $10, that is ending soon. So definitely get on that. Find us on wherever you get your podcast. Like, subscribe, leave reviews, guys. We can't do this without you guys as the fans. We really appreciate it. And it helps us to get those reviews on any of the podcast networks so that we can go up the rankings there and keep doing this. Follow us on YouTube And if you click the little bell, the notifications, it'll let you know whenever we go live. We're going to do live pregame and postgame shows all season long. You're going to get to talk to us before and after every game this year. And then we also do the matchup show on Wednesdays. So every Wednesday we have a guest from another team come on. We talk about their team, talk about our team, just kind of get to know what to expect going into Sunday. That's a great show. And then all through the week, sometimes we just get on. Eric will get Rob or Nate and just do a film review of either the prior week or what to expect. So there's lots of stuff. So make sure you click that notification, because anytime we go live, you'll get a notification and you'll be able to come on live with us and watch. You know how to work those. Search Cover One. You'll find us. Follow us on those. You can follow me at Aaron Quinn 716, or find me all up in Rob's mentions, talking jokes, talking about how we're related and just messing with people. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you coming out tonight and spending a late evening during the week with us talking Bills. We'll be back at it Wednesday with the regular podcast. Maybe Rob will come on if we can convince him to come out and play with us. And so look forward to that. And we'll see you guys next week with some more Bills talk.
All right.